oh, is it because I'm an older woman? They said, no, no, it's not that. It's just the aesthetic of it, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just a balance, isn't it? You don't want to be too far. You
Oh
just
no, you want to be closer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how are you getting on there, my lovely Catherine? How is everything? How is Australia? How
Oh,
is the weather?
Australia's good.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
Australia's, Australia is Australia, and we have the same problems as anywhere else, in the West. So,
mm,
I follow politics in Britain and in America. I've got family in America, in New York,
mm,
and family in Yorkshire.
mm.
So I keep an eye on both sides, So what's going on in Australia reflects what's happening elsewhere.
Pretty
Mm.
much, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God, what can we do? Prince Harry is in the country right now.
I saw
Did,
that.
did you see that? So
Yes.
he's attending the WellChild Awards ceremony.
Mm.
Yeah. So we've got Aspi in the room now. Hi, Aspi.
Oh,
Thank you for
wow. Hi,
joining us.
Aspi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
How are you, Aspi? Thank you so much for
Yes.
always tuning in. We are sorry we are late today. We had a bit of a technical problem here, but it's been sorted now. It's to do with the weather around this place. Signal is on and off. And yesterday we were meant to be on, so we couldn't again. But hey, we are here eventually, aren't we, Catherine?
That's right. We're
Yes,
not going anywhere. It neither
yes.
has asked me from the look of it. We had a brief conversation about Scotland the other day. She was lauding Scotland's praises, the beauty of the country. It is.
Mm,
And I think some of the serialized TV dramas have really put Scotland on the map.
mm,
But
mm.
the king's presence there last week, I really enjoy listening to him reading beautiful prose. So
Okay.
as Asmi and I were talking about that online. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes. And you shared that. You shared a clip
yeah,
of King Charles reading
yeah.
it, and that was so lovely. You are doing
Mm,
so amazing, Catherine, highlighting the great work of King Charles. We need that. We really need that,
yes,
especially as we're
yes.
drawing close and closer to the King's visit to Australia. You
I actually feel in my bones for the
mm,
first time, I will say this, for the first time, unless something dramatic takes place, I believe he will be in Australia and then on to Samoa. It's going to be quite a trek for him, but
mm,
he does have his mother, the late Queen, as an example of that work.
mm.
His workhorse anyway. But
Yes.
it's the first time I have felt confident that yes, he's going to be here. So this week I'm going to put more stuff up about King Charles and continue that then until their
Mm.
trip.
Mm,
Mm,
mm.
mm.
Please do that because
Yes,
we
yes,
need to get the moods really up there, and
yes, yes. Because
he
it is
is.
flat. It's flat.
It is flat,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think part of it is because they've left it a little bit late to
Yes.
farm it, as opposed to if they had pumped it up earlier on and got the people already used to the fact that okay, it's going to happen. So they left it a bit last minute because we know they were still monitoring the king's health situation. But things will probably pick up because we've
I
had a
believe
few
so.
other things happening in between that have sort of taken that overshadowed the king's thing. Like obviously we know what's been going on with the Meghan and Harry's, and then we had Catherine coming in with the videos, and William of the chemotherapy treatment. So all of that sort of maybe came within the same period. We would have sort of been awaiting the king's big news of coming to Australia. But hey ho, we will get there. You're doing a great
I,
job.
I believe so. And I'll tell you why I feel confident. What rattled me, and I mentioned it on one of my shorts, what rattled me was when Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, stood in for him in the Netherlands for a
Mm,
really significant event that that was the King's place, it was the laying of a wreath. That
mm,
really had me rattled. And then when I saw him in Scotland, granted, his appearance has changed. He looks well,
mm, mm,
but his appearance has changed and he's lost considerable amount of weight.
mm,
Um, the one of the events he will be attending in Sydney is I think it's called the bicentennial of the Upper House in the New South Wales Parliament, and he was there for the 25 years of the Scottish Parliament. So I
mm,
thought, oh, these moments are really important to him,
mm,
and he will be here by hook or by crook. He will be here, and his mother's work ethic right up to the last minute. I'm not saying he's on his last legs, but his health clearly dictates his schedule, no question. But he obviously wanted to keep some reserve. So he looked at the priority, and the priority is the Australian tour, which is why the Princess Royal was
mm,
required to step in for him in the Netherlands. So I feel confident. I'm going to try and get to that event because I worked in the upper house in the New
mm,
South Wales Parliament when John Fay was the Premier. And then I worked for him as a comms secretary in the electorate when he then went on to be a the member for Macarthur, but the finance minister.
mm,
So I actually would like to go to that, but it depends on the scheduling of the Canberra trip because I really want to go down to Canberra as well. So I'm working on my itinerary now, but I believe he's coming. I
mm,
actually really feel strongly about that. And the
mm,
signal was the 25th. I thought, oh, he wants to be here for that upper house, the New South Wales Upper House Bicentenary. So I'm feeling confident for the first time. I don't mind admitting it. It's the first time I've had some confidence around the trip.
yes, yes, and that's
Mm,
really, really good. Um,
mm.
Thank you so much, our dear friends in the comments. Leslie Handy says we need to leave a link to Catherine's channel in the
Oh,
comments.
thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for asking. I'm 30 away from 1,000. Can you believe it?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
30
Francis.
away from 1,000
I owe
subscribers.
you. Oh my gosh, he just really pumped it out there. 30
Yes,
away.
yeah. And we
Oh,
once it gets to 1,000, it will start flying. But
yes, yes.
our friends in the comments have done a great job elevating us, and they always turn up and drop lovely comments on our videos and our community posts, which is lovely because that is what YouTube looks at to recommend our channels to other viewers. So thank you so much for always returning to the channel and watching the videos, coming onto these lives, and you spend this great time with us having these chit chats. We can't be any more happier than we are,
Well,
isn't it?
I second what Francis says. I second that. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Well
So
said, Francis.
we will leave Catherine's link in the. I think I can do it while we're on live here actually, but it should be up in the next few minutes. And Catherine, have you put your name up? Let me see if your name.
It's yes, it
Yes, it's
is.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
Arroyo. Yeah, if you
yeah.
put that name in the
Yeah.
in YouTube, if you search it up, Catherine will pop up straight away. She's the only person using that name on YouTube. Very popular, by the way, Catherine. And the algorithms are now putting you up there aggressively because you are one of the very, very sentimental ones that are pushing King Charles
Sentimental
through
is
the
true.
field. Yes.
I think it comes. I think it comes with age. Trust me. I used to be a very prickly character. I worked in
Mm,
politics for years,
yeah.
so a sentimental. I love that. But you're a pretty romantic character yourself. The way you speak of Catherine is so charming.
Yeah, and look, we are all in blue, is it?
I
So
know.
yeah, so it's the royal color. So this is pretty much probably going to become our uniform for these live streams. Catherine, what do you think?
I think so. Well, blue is the color of trust.
It is.
Royal purple, people mistakenly believe that purple is the color of royalty. It actually is, but it's the color of heavenly royalty. It's the color of God's royalty. Blue, but in to be precise, indigo, which actually is my favorite color before I knew this.
Mhm.
Indigo is the color of earthly royalty. So
Yeah.
if we stick with blue, we can't go wrong, Francis.
No, we can't. We really can't. But yes, that's Soto has actually highlighted Catherine's
Are we?
channel name there. Yes, we put it up on the screen. Is the name of the channel? Yes, that's it. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Chantel, Ida, everyone.
Oh, I kept my red glasses on, Chantal.
Yes, Isley
The
Handy,
lipstick.
thank you for asking. We are very, very grateful for every single one of you showing up on these live streams. Catherine, we have Prince Harry in the country, so he's come here for the WellChild Awards. So this is one of the very few charities that still have Prince Harry as their patron. And so he's actually done well with this charity. He's attended about 12 out of the 16 awards of the charity, because every year they hold an award ceremony of some sort, and they give awards to the little ones who have health needs and problems, and who have championed the medication on those health needs they have, and also the activities that are run within the charity annually. And then at the end of the year, um, that little child who's won that challenge gets to receive an award. So we see Prince Harry coming in to hand over that award, and today, so he's here. The mood is quite a positive one compared to the usual moods I see, when Prince Harry is here.
Mm,
And
mm,
he's actually got some audience because Sky News have given him near enough a whole half an hour, 35, 40
mm,
minutes of airing,
mm.
and they've talked about him and how he's really done great with promoting these charities campaigns. Um, what did he do? He gave a speech as well, thanking all the charity leaders and everybody working around these young children, and said that he's so inspired by their work. So Prince Harry said all the right things in his speech. He turned up in the right mood, the right prince that everybody knew before he left as a working royal. And many are actually starting to think that could this be a nudge in the right direction for Prince Harry? And is this the beginning of uh, his way back to royal, some sort of royal activity in the UK? Give us your thoughts, Catherine, on Prince Harry's return to the UK.
Uh, I was taken aback by that Sky report, and largely because Sky leads the charge, and Sunrise as well, with Stephanopoulos in Australia. They lead the charge with the anti-Sussex um, narrative, okay? But the three women that get on there, I'm not talking about the other commentators. I can't think of her name. There's a couple of other commentators. They just do not like the Sussexes. But these three women that come on, and it's led by a Sky reporter. Oh my gosh, it was so fawning. It was a
mm,
fawning report, and I was really taken aback by it, to be quite honest. Not because they were being positive. That's actually not the point at all. But the way it was actually a bit saccharine, and they were harking back to the old Harry, the wonderful Harry of days of old,
mm,
and but he's still in there
mm,
because he still holds a lot of charm, and um, that charm has been quashed by the relationship that he has with his wife,
mm,
and she, being the narcissist that she is, she just sucks him dry. She's like a vampire. So
mm,
we're seeing a couple of things going on here. The gloves are off. Hollywood is gunning for Meghan. The gloves are off. That's it. We know there are a couple of reports in Germany, and it's clearly about the children.
mm,
And a lot of people had the idea and put out the idea that there was an order put out, that suppressed those reports about the children. So, coming back to this question, circling back on your question, I would love to see Harry come back. I don't
mm,
mean, when I say come back, I don't mean to the UK. I'd love to see him come back into his body, into
mm,
himself, because I saw a couple of the videos um, in preparation for our live, and he looks lost, he looks awkward, he looks like he's trying to be his old self, but he's not comfortable in his body anymore. He's not
mm,
relaxed.
mm,
And he doesn't look at home with the children,
mm,
and which just adds fuel to the whole
mm,
fire around the
mm,
children. The
mm,
burning. I'm just not even going to say what it is. Google rather, YouTube, but we know what we're talking about here. Just he used to be so comfortable with children. There's one of my favorite videos of him where he's at an event and there's a child reaching in and eating his popcorn. And I think Harry knew what was happening, but then he looked at the child. He was very comfortable with children at one point, but
yes.
he's not anymore.
Mm,
Now, the reasons for that we can only speculate, but I would love to. I'm just going to frame this so, because coming back has other connotations and we can discuss that. But I would love to see him come back into himself and land there. But that's a lot of work. And he looks like he's lacking in confidence. He's not comfortable with children. He's shifting from one foot to the next.
mm,
And his
mm,
eyes are a bit but I would, this Sky report really rattled me, if I'm going to be frank, because I thought, what are these girls on? One minute they're this, and the next minute they're not just being positive. I can handle that, but
mm,
they're just fawning over him,
mm,
and I thought, oh, there's something else going on here,
mm,
something else that I just feel like I feel like the word has been put out on his
mm,
behalf. I'm just going to
mm,
put it like that.
mm, mm.
So, well, I don't know. What are your thoughts about it? You will have seen the videos that I'm
Oh
referring
yes,
to. What do you think?
I've seen those. Look here, this Paul Donman says Harry Cole is little legends. Indeed, he called the little ones little legends in that speech. In yes,
Paul, you always hit the nail on the head.
I
That's
know.
yeah. referring to himself as a living
A
legend.
living
Oh
legend. He
God.
got that award for what? Nothing he did at all. We know that these are awards that are bought in United States, and they are part of their branding campaign, isn't it? Give us this award and we will turn up at your event, and so it's bit of pat my back, I pat yours, sort of thing. So, but I don't think there is anybody who took those awards any seriously. Okay. But it's very interesting that Paul has picked that up. Very well done. There's Joe Vickers here who has caught up with our live. Great to see you, Joe. Leslie, thank you guys for turning in. These live streams are really connecting us to so many people out there, our friends. It feels like we have known each other for a long time, doesn't it, Catherine?
Oh, I do agree with you because I heard Joe Vickers got a mention on Lady C's channel last week. You asked a question, and I thought, oh my gosh, these girls get around, you know. But it
Yes,
is like a community,
it
and
is a community.
but an intelligent, well-informed, critical thinking community.
Very
You're
important.
not. I'll tell you something. I said to Francis after one of our lives, I can't stand a lot of lives because the chatter is so rude and vulgar and swearing. And it's not that we're prudes here, but I just think it's actually important to remember that you wouldn't speak like this out in the public space. So I
Mm,
find a lot of lives quite daunting. They because, but you girls and boys, you're just so
in
polite.
very polite, very respectful, and they look at these things from a very unique lens.
Mm,
Okay, and this brings me back to the question you asked about Prince Harry's, coming
yes,
back here. Uh, he definitely needs some rehabilitation of some sort, because he's been away, in somebody's hands for such a long time. That time is quite long for somebody who used to be here in the royal family, mixing with the royals,
yes,
engaging in royal events, for him to be out of those events for all this while, stuck in United States in somebody's hands, being fed this, fed that, is not going to be an easy way back in for Prince Harry. And his behavior, it is not going to be the same sort of behavior and body language that he had before he left. He's not going to get that back suddenly. It will take time for him to get back into the right tune that he was. And that can only happen if he does these things consistently, comes here, lives here, stays here. But if we are going to have the Harry who comes just to attend this WellChild event, goes back and again disappears, it isn't going to help him at all. um, but interestingly, this would have been the sixth event in a row he has attended without wife Meghan Markle.
mm,
And when you look at the headlines, most of the headlines, when I'm looking at all the top stories here, they are all writing about that, okay? Out and about without Meghan, this is sending strong signals out there that maybe this might be the beginning of, Harry walking away, slowly getting back into his rightful path, and because he was lost somewhere down the line. He went in New York. He attended Kevin Costner event without Meghan Markle. All of these events, including the Child Awards, are events that Meghan Markle would have loved to attend, because wherever there is that center stage, she would like to be there. Okay, but for her not to be present at these events really is starting to make many people wonder whether there is something happening behind the scenes. And people are sort of, maybe there could be an announcement coming out very soon that, we are heading in separate directions. Okay. Um, and also, especially as prior to the New York event, we saw this big headline come out that Harry and Meghan are starting to rethink the way they are going to be stepping out on engagements. They are thinking of adopting a solo engagement type of approach. Okay, so, and many people are saying there is no smoke without fire. So they are sensing a bit of that, with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and where their relationship is sitting at the minute. Um, Reading around again, many people are saying it's now run out of steam. Prince Harry has realized the United States hasn't worked for him. Their charities are engulfed with a lot of issues. Someone highlighted here. Actually, I was going to talk about that. That Actual Foundation is also, being
Yes.
owned by IRS, and is it 4 million US dollars apparently, which is missing
Mhm.
somewhere. So there are challenges, clear challenges that Prince Harry, Meghan Markle are facing behind the scenes. All of these things, of course, add a lot of pressure to an already strained relationship. And so many would argue that the way Sky News is pampering Prince Harry here, the way they are now starting to change a tone in language and how they are starting to give him a bit of that airtime, could
Mm.
be a way of, okay, behind the scenes we see you're going through these problems, and you're now starting to realize who you are truly. You've been led on this wrong path. Let us start preparing your return. Okay, here. So this could be a Prince Harry's own trial to see whether, he could use this as an opportunity. Now we have that big birthday message which was sent, by the royal family, happy 40th. That could also have reminded Prince Harry that, listen, this family, you've always said about this and that, and you thought they didn't love you. They still remember your 40th. And they still love you and care for you. So all of these things, including Prince Harry's reflections, because when he hit 40, he told us he was going to reflect on his journey. And so is he going to want to live the sort of life he's lived prior to 40 and lead that same life into his 40th? Or he's slowly starting to come back to his senses to actually think that there is no more time for now going against my family. For all of this while, I've been misled on a wrong path. So we are keeping our eyes open, okay? But this is what I think. Here is Prince Harry who is starting a process of some sort. Now, whether he likes it or not, he might not come back to full service like he used to do. And he will not have this one leg in, one leg out, because that was a no-go. Okay. He has to make some serious decisions. Serious. Okay. Not coming in whenever he pleases. Okay. Part-time royal, part-time that, He has to choose between his life in California and service here in the United Kingdom. And that is the challenge I think he has. Because things are not over yet. This does not mean that he has got back into the good books with the royal family. His father is 400 miles away from here in Scotland. So there isn't going to be any communication allegedly or meeting up. Neither will he be meeting Prince William. So it isn't a done deal. but
No.
it is Prince Harry on his part trying to find a way of reconnecting with the British public. And he will have to do that before he thinks of starting to get onto that bridge to walk down the path to King Charles or Prince William. Hmm. So that's how I'm looking at it, Catherine. Any
Well,
thoughts,
I think
comments?
I think you're quite astute in your analysis because it's not a done deal. It just isn't. He can't expect, and this is where I'm a bit concerned about the success of his journey. And I do actually wish him well, to be honest with you. I would love to see him recover. And but he's very wounded and bruised at the moment. It's a bit like you've nearly lost a tree in a storm, and then you have to bring the tree back in and you have to bandage it up and you have to put supports, you need to give it fertilizer. And Harry, it can't be his family. Um, there could be unspoken tacit support for him from the family. I'm sure there is, particularly from his father, but he needs a very strong support team around him that speak truth to him because Harry is an impatient, impetuous individual. And if the public are not with him, they're just not. Now, I know X, I'm finally starting to call it X, is a world of its own. It doesn't entirely reflect the public mood, but it is a voice that needs to be accommodated and recognized and acknowledged. And it does reflect a lot of what goes on in the media, and it is a loud voice. It is loud. This is why they go on this worldwide censorship tour of theirs, because they can't they can't manage it, they can't handle it, they only want positive voices. But I think you're right. This is not a done deal. I do believe, I am of the conviction the king wants him back in the country. And I use that word back in the country. Um, I do believe there is some quiet communication between his son. Whether that is through an advisor or not remains to be seen. But I do believe that. That's what I mean when I said the word has gone out, which is why we see Sky News fawning all over him, calling him a superstar. I ask you, if you saw him today, that is not superstar material, switching from one foot to the other using. And Paul makes a really good point
Good
here.
question. Yes.
Yeah,
Little
because the
legends.
book Spare is coming out this month, and Paul Donovan says here, I've actually held it stationary. Harry's talking about a toy giraffe, and he said, "Is that the same one?" "No way," he said. "Every parent has a spare. I've
Hmm.
got at least six spare." That being two references to the book Spare. Now, he is on orders from his publisher to promote his book while he's over there. He
Hmm.
can't. He can't because this is about rebuilding trust.
It
And
is
yet,
about that.
here he is injecting it in a conversation with a child. I ask you, these two stoop so low. You are using an encounter with a child and his giraffe at a WellChild Award to promote your book Spare. It is so ghastly. It's just vulgar. It's hideous. It's gross. Oh, give me a thesaurus, someone. I just could go on about it because that really got my attention, Paul, because he can't be doing this if he wants to win the trust of the royal family, because I've read elsewhere there are a lot within the royal family who want nothing to do with him, and we know that would be the Tyndalls. We know they would want nothing to do with him, and I believe Queen Anne would feel the same. Oh, Queen Anne, there's a Freudian slip for you. The Princess Royal would feel the same,
Hmm.
and I doubt very much his brother wants anything to do with any of this. But the king is in a very awkward position. So I believe this is what I believe. He wants him back in the country. He wants him out of the clutches
Mm,
of this vampire. And he will take it slowly, step by step. But I don't think it's not like rehabilitating Camilla, she saw the long game. She was very disciplined. That
mm,
was a different rehabilitation. Rehabilitation for Harry includes detox, rehab, and a very strong private group of two or three individuals who speak truth to him and hold him accountable and
mm,
say, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. Because he'll take three steps forward and two steps back.
mm,
And I
mm.
don't know if you can cope with that.
You couldn't have analyzed that very well, than you have, Catherine. A lot of rehabilitation is needed. And
Mm,
yesterday I did that video of,
yes.
and I happened to caption a bit of a conversation from the CBS interview. That interview was that particular bit there was never seen before. It was edited out, but
Mm,
CBS brought it back anyway. And Meghan Markle talking about the days she had those thoughts, and then that smacking of Prince Harry on the thigh, as Prince Harry tried to respond, and she smacked him on the thigh so as to say, this is my bit to say, don't you dare interrupt, keep quiet. So he is the sort of person, he's been subdued, he's been um, manipulated. He's in that sort of place. And when you see him coming back, today was actually the first time he's been seen acting, in a way that many people thought, okay, so he's actually having a proper smile on. But all of those previous engagements, you could see somebody who was completely lost. And as he stepped out without Megan, we can see that he's actually getting back to himself, because he's not confident at all when he's with that lady Meghan Markle. But it's very interesting now, because the more he's gone out on these solo engagements, the more people have a little bit tuned in to see, okay, what next? What has he done? What's going on? And I think that's why the Sky News were able to give him that audience, because I don't think
yes.
they would have got the same audience had he come back with, Meghan Markle.
You're right about that. I
Mm.
actually I like the way you put it earlier. You said, people are giving him a bit of breathing space because he's like a drowning man and he's coming up and gulping for air. So I had that image when you said that earlier. I think he needs a bit of breathing space, and it would be unfair not to give him that.
Mm.
But but we're dealing with a drug addict here.
Oh,
Let's never
yeah,
forget that.
exactly. And he's still got a long way to go.
Mm,
He needs to apologize. That is the bottom line. Without apologizing and putting his ego aside and coming out publicly to make some sort of announcement that I have always been led on this path, and whatever I said in those projects, spare documentaries, were things I said because I wasn't in the right space and frame of mind at the time. I don't think all of these feely, touchy feely we are seeing with him coming back and pretending to be a good guy and will work. It won't. It won't work out, because the damage and the things they have done, you know, are so huge that it is very difficult to just to ignore, if that's the word to say. His paperback book is of course going to be released, and that is more like cementing whatever I said in Spare. Um, and so there is no way he's going to come anywhere near to William, to um, the king, in the way he would have done if he had apologized. Okay. And for as long as he's still got Meghan Markle wrapped around him, there isn't going to be any meaningful talks and conversations that will take place. Because he cannot be back here while he has his wife there, and he works, he stays with the royals, he does what, and then he goes back to his wife because the trust is gone. They are not sure whether whatever is being told to him here won't be taken back to the wife in California. Okay. So if he is to come back in the royal family in some capacity, whether as a serving royal or not, whether to stay on any of the royal grounds, he has to do something about the relationship he's in there. If he either choose that relationship or choose coming back to the royal family. Okay. And that is the big challenge I think he has right now. So the other day I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was asking me about, actually Paul has said about it. Was it Paul or somebody said about, was it Aspie? Someone talked about the court case, taking His Majesty King Charles's government to court for denial of police security. So
That's
somebody was
right.
saying here, have you got something about that case? We know that he lost bits of that case, court case, and it was thrown out of court, but they gave him some amount of time to appeal, okay, to bring in new evidence why he thinks he needs it. And that's where he is sitting at the minute. But all of these campaigns is being on, dragging the king to court for denial of police security, all of that sort of thing. All of those projects should be dropped if he is to get back in the government or in the UK, the royal family's good books in any capacity. Because you can't get back in, and on the other hand, you're dragging the same family you're pretending to want to come back to court. Okay, so there is a lot of inconsistencies here with Prince Harry. And this is actually making him look like a hypocrite, like, because you can't want one thing and you want the other thing. Harry, choose where you want to go. 40 years now, he needs to decide, this is the path I want to take, and this is it. This business of back in, back out, back in, back out. He took that freedom flight. He called it the freedom flight from Frogmore Cottage down to Heathrow Airport when they were leaving, and he said, here is my freedom flight. Okay, it's free. But that wasn't really freedom, because look at what's going on now, And if it was really freedom, he wouldn't want anything to do with even coming back here. But how many stories have we heard of him trying to reach out to people who are closer to the royals to try and work out a plan of how he could come back in? Okay, so clearly there are struggles there on their side, and you can see that somewhere, somehow, he is starting to realize that life was not what he expected. Okay? Everything was being given to him, from food, security, clothing, everything, to now having to work hard, to having to go through, to sign contracts, projects, stay committed to doing the work. And they haven't really done that work because, look, Netflix is still hanging in the balance. They haven't produced to the expectations of the £100 million they signed up to. And there are talks of withdrawing that contract. We know Archwell is struggling with finding donors. Now it's being questioned. The other day they nearly declared them delinquent. Is it delinquent? You know,
Mm,
struggles are everywhere. And this is
mm,
not something Harry was used to. He was used to the easy
mm.
life. Okay. But who do you blame? You know, it's him. So he chose somebody to his family and decided to walk away from all these beautiful things, the charities, you know, the Royal Marines. There's so many charities that had given him the opportunity to show his passion in a capacity of working and being their patron. He threw all of that away and flew to United States. So really, he has a lot of apologizing, not just to the royal family, but to all these other charities he abandoned. Okay.
It's pretty serious stuff, you know. I think he makes the mistake of um, it's because he's been so spoiled and isolated. I do believe that when you live in those rare environments, it does actually corrupt you to some extent, you know, and you can't see things clearly. But what he's done is really serious stuff. You know, he savaged his brother's reputation, he stalks him, he criticized his wife, he showed private texts between Catherine and Meghan over the bridesmaid dresses on Netflix. He's taken, as you rightly point out, he's taken his father's government to court. He can't do this. He can't continue this. And I was glad that Paul brought that up about the giraffe and the spare because it just shows that he's going to find it difficult to let go of these habits. There's a story in the Bible about the King his brother. He was jealous. He was not jealous. He was angry over an issue that had happened with his older brother. It was the rape of their half sister Tamar, and he was in exile. He went into exile, and it's a really stunning example. Anyway, um, David mourned for his son because he was a favoured son, Absalom, and he brought him back, but he didn't see him for 2 years. He didn't see him for 2 years, and it really ticked Absalom off. So this is what Harry's going to face. He can come back into the country. Doesn't mean he's going to be back in relationship with his brother, with his family. And Absalom, in the end, he was not getting his father's attention. So he burnt Joab's fields. And Joab was furious. He said, "Why have you done this?" He said, "Because I want to speak to my father. I want to see my father." And so anyway, you know, the story goes. The point I'm making is by that highlighting that example there, which is, you know, these stories are there for a purpose. They're life lessons. Harry, how is he going to feel if he's living back in the country when his brother's go? His brother, um, they had the ambulance fundraising. It's closed out in the last 7 or 10 days at £16 million. How is he going to handle when Catherine turns up at the remembrance service and breaks the internet? He's not going to
Exactly.
handle it very well. And
No, he won't.
I mean, you know, we're all being very generous with him at the moment and want him to find the air that he needs to breathe. But this business with the spare giraffe, it's not good, you know, because as you rightly point out, he needs to start with an apology. Now, Absalom didn't apologize. He just wanted to talk to his father. He couldn't stand that his father was not speaking to him. But King David had been put in his place because he was, you know, mourning that his son had gone away. And his advisor said, "You can't do this. The public can hear you. The public can see that you're upset, that you're not in contact with your son Absalom." And so David listened to his advisors, but the king's son, Absalom, just couldn't help himself. He couldn't stand being ignored. And I think that's what Harry has. this is a hard, we call it in Australia, it's hard yakka. When the rubber hits the road, I don't think Harry's got it in him. I don't think he's got the discipline. I don't think he's got the strength of character to do what it takes to come back, even into the royal fold. Not necessarily, he'll never be a working royal again. It'll never happen. But I
That
don't think
will
he can live
never,
with that.
that will
It'll never
never,
happen.
no chance. You couldn't have hit the nail on the head
Mm.
than you have. Because there is a lot he will have to do to convince not just the royal family, but also the country. Because giving away those patronages and walking away from his royal duties at the time because of being having these childlike tantrums and they throw everything away. Okay, we are gone, we are gone. More so with somebody he had only just met for how many, 6 months? Was it 6 months? For them
Mm.
to change him that fast in the way that they did and took him away was a huge letdown, not only to the royal family but also the country here. And then the interviews many people have seen him do, saying America is now my home. UK is, I'm not safe. I cannot bring my wife back and my children back to the UK because it's not safe for them to come back. And yet here he is flying to places which are, known to be unsafe, Colombia, Nigeria, all of these places, flying and going there, but can't come to his home country where he was raised, where he knows it's one of the safest places to live on earth. He called it unsafe. Those things really, really angered people here. And that's why, for me, I think he will never sit in the same, he will never find that same warmth in many people's hearts like he had before he left. Now, a lot of all of these, the perceptions we see and people looking at him, and these things are coming from a place of sympathy. So people are like, oh, poor Harry. So, oh, okay, so this young man, so he's back, but he couldn't see he all along is being misled on a path. How sad that a young man like him would have done a lot for his family, for the country here. He would have achieved a lot had he stayed here, but he decided to walk away. So he's now trying to come back. So people are looking at him through that lens of sympathy as opposed to, yes, we want him back. Yes, come back. Yes. It's more like people are just, saying, so sad he couldn't see all these good things and before he left.
Well, he's very damaged. He's damaged by the drugs. He's damaged by the narcissistic abuse. He's a very, very damaged human being. That light that was there is no longer there. It's not to suggest it can't come back. He still has a charming way about him. You can't fake that. Someone said that in one of the articles from last week. But that freedom flight comment was so ridiculous. For crying out loud, I want to swear. Chantel says she can swear like a trooper. I want to swear because he was not escaping a pogrom, for crying out loud. It was so ridiculous, but it showed how immature they were and how immature he is, which is why he was such easy pickings for someone like Meghan Markle. But there's a word of warning here by Lisa H., and she follows up about King David. What have I done here? Here. She's followed it up, and this is what bothers me. And David let him back in, right? And he even allowed him to sit at the gate. He gave him a place of honor, and he sat in a place of honor, and it was in that place that he betrayed his father at the gate.
Hmm.
So, sin is at the door waiting. And if King Charles I believe he needs to walk very judiciously along this path in relation to his son. There's a lot of people like myself who've, you know, suffered at the hands of a loved one who was drug affected, have a lot of sympathy for the king. They have a lot of sympathy for him during his battle with cancer. They have a lot of sympathy with him in relation to his king, but they are they are battle weary from their own battles with the loss of drug affected loved ones. It's it's a hard road. It's a hard road, and I do believe the king needs a lot of wisdom on this path. But that that sorry, that situation with the giraffe, it's not. It's a red flag.
It is, and it's good you've talked about King Charles, and because I think if he's going to be judged, if his reign is going to be judged by people, he's going to be judged on the way he has handled this Meghan Markle and Prince Harry issue
Yeah.
than anything, because it has sort of rattled his era, his reign. It's given him such a huge challenge in a way, because we know the royal family has this no complain, no, don't say anything, just carry on, stay calm and carry on. But it gets to a point where, okay, there's no complaint, but some sort of actions should be. Okay. And from a father's perspective, he loves his son. He would like to have him back in some way, if his son can realize and apologize and start actually taking the rightful actions, requests to have some bit of a rehabilitation program put in place, and him constantly actually requesting for it and said, for all this while I've been through this, I really need help. So he's gonna have to do that for him to be let back in. But the king will not, as much as he loves his son, he will not say, "My son, come back. Just come back. Come and live by the royal lodge, or live at Frogmore Cottage, or live here," because what Harry has done hasn't been very good to his father, to the reign, to the country. So King Charles is just finding a balance of, okay, how can I handle this young man in a way that is not going to come across as me being too harsh, for me
Yes.
to be criticized or looked at as a father who treated his son in such a way. But again, on the other side, he also has to find a way of showing the world, the country, that he's actually trying to manage this problem in a way. Okay. So I think most of all these stories we see of, phone calls being made to his dad and they are not answered. The king is not going to be here to meet with his son. He's only met with him for only 45 minutes. I think
Mm,
those are limits. Those are the things that the king is doing now to try and create those boundaries and send this message to his son that things are not the way they used to be because of what you did, but you need to do A, B, C, D if you want to come back in. But also, it is not just the king himself. You're looking at the future king, the heir to the,
mm,
and you're looking at Catherine, you're looking at the king's wife, Camilla. All of these people were attacked, or were sort of, they were, what is the word, without me being very offended, so in by his project, their project, in some way, what he said about Camilla. And you know how much King Charles loves Camilla. You say anything about his wife, that's a no-go area. And then all of those things he said about William and spare, he pushed me off the ball. My brother has anger issues, all of those things. Catherine was married into the family, but that wasn't really love because they got Catherine because she fit the mold, but there wasn't any love there. So all of those things were deeply, deeply, you know, frustrating to his family. So this is where issues are getting complicated. From a perspective of a
Yeah.
father, King Charles can maybe forgive him
Mm.
as a father, but it is much more than that. There is a lot because others have to forgive him as well. But whether they are ready to do that, nobody knows. Actions are speaking louder than words. When was the last time we saw Harry and William engage in a meaningful conversation? So they attended their uncle's funeral, and there was no talking between the two brothers. And this would have been a more family moment that people, regardless of their um, differences, get to actually say hello. How have you been? Okay, that none of that happened. So we've seen these events, the Diana Awards, which is one of those very uniting ceremonies for these two brothers. It is their mom's event. They're remembering the legacy she left here, but they can't even be on this award, both of them at the same time. Either one is there, one is not there. Okay, so you can see that there is a massive, massive issue there between these two brothers. So for the king to say, I've forgiven you, that isn't going to be enough for Harry to get back in because he can't have, the rest can't have him there unless he comes clean in a way that everybody has to see him getting back to his senses and say, I'm really, really sorry. Spare, pull it back off the shelves. He can't do that. It's already gone. The words are already there. Okay, the paperback version, somebody said in the comments, is being pumped out there. And because all of these projects Harry sold, he's already taken the money, he's got the money. So he can't say, I'm pulling them back because he would have to pay that money back, which money he doesn't have. All of is being used. They are leading this very expensive life in California projects. £1 million mansion, so much money. So they have to survive. And the only way they can do is to go through this because all these publishers and everybody wants the juicy bits. They want to buy stuff where he's attacking families doing that because that's to them that's what sells.
That's
Okay.
right. Well, we click on those headlines too, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we go, oh, what's this about? I like, come
Okay.
on,
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
want to know the juicy bits, don't
Yeah.
we? It
Okay.
sells.
So it is a very difficult situation, but he made his bed, Harry did, and he's going to lie in that bed regardless of whether he's coming back here, whatever, he always made that bed. Now he's here in the country, but nobody knows where he is. But one thing we know is he hasn't stayed at any of the royal palaces. So,
Okay.
but this is a Harry who would always be coming back and he would be living at these residencies. But he has now to put things in writing, apparently anything he wants from the royals, it has to be in writing because there isn't any way they are going to be taking chances with him. Things have
Yeah.
to be put in writing as evidence. All the communications and correspondences have to be open so that everybody can see that this is what happened. So that this is the trust that was broken, and once trust is broken, it's very difficult to be rebuilt.
It's true, it's actually very sad. I think the, the king is between a rock and a hard place. He's a father, he's a king, and the public want him to be a king, and rightly so. Rightly so. The public don't want to see him compromised by this dynamic, but that doesn't mean we don't feel empathy for him. But he's got cancer and he can't have stress in his life. The one thing that um, medical professionals will say is you must minimize and get rid of stress in the life of the patient. Now, um, the problem is the king is working on the succession plan. That's always an ongoing process, and they do it very closely with the next in line, with the heir. And there was a headline, and it had currency in recent months, and it appeared to be an authorized leak from William himself that said, "I'm done. I can't put my arm around my brother anymore. I'm done. I can't do this." And who can blame him? He has to think about his wife. While ever he's in communication with Meghan, you've got this stalker who is insanely jealous of Catherine. Like it is real psychopathy. She's just psychopathic in her jealousy of Catherine. And he has to think about his children. And you've got these other two invisible children in the line of succession. So any decisions the king makes in terms of his son Harry has to take into account these major breaches. And it is a breach because those children, invisible children, who are known as Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, are in the line of succession. And his brother, who he has seriously offended, he hasn't offended um, a child that's, there's some guy in Australia who reckons he's the son's king. He hasn't offended someone way off in the whoop whoop who's got some weird claim. He's offended the next in line.
Mm,
And this is really serious stuff. And it's like it was pointed out in that comment when Absalom was brought back and he was given a seat of honor at the gate, but betrayal. He was betrayed there. And William will not allow that. I don't believe William will allow Harry anywhere near him. And that is going to grind Harry's gears.
Very, very well said. Very, very well said. And not just near him, but also the children, because obviously we had the stories some time back of Harry saying that he's worried about William's children being spares and ending up in the same position that he's in. He's talking about Charlotte probably, and the other one, Louis. So there is always that feeling that coming back in and being closer to these other kids, the young ones, might sow the bad seeds, okay, into those young royals growing up. That sort of mindset that, when one is the king, all of the ones that follow next are always going to be walking in the shadows. Okay, so it's a very tricky one at this moment, and they would want to not have somebody like that near them, okay, in their circles. But also when you have somebody like Meghan Markle and what she's capable of doing, and all the jealousness and this competition she wanted to have with Catherine, Princess of Wales. Can you imagine when she first arrived, she was given Catherine to be one of her mentors, so that this is a woman, Catherine, who had mastered royal protocol, gone through all of those standard operating principles, as we call them in the royal family. You don't skip this office and go to the other office because you want something. You have to go through the proper channels, whether it's booking systems or, getting medical help or whatever. So you don't just, because you're the Duchess of Sussex, you want to jump steps and jump departments and go behind the doors, give me this. Okay. So Catherine was tasked allegedly to train her to know how to observe all of these standard operating procedures. But what does she do? She thinks she's very educated. Oh, she has this degree in international relations. There's equality. There is, all of those things. And she uses that knowledge to work against the establishment that had welcomed her, instead of using her knowledge actually to support the institution. She used it to fight against it. And Catherine couldn't do anything. She just had to take a step back and say, right, I can't mentor somebody like that. So again, are you going to have such a person return and cause that mayhem, that havoc that she caused? Because if Harry is to return, he will be returning with his wife unless him and his wife are done. And as far
Mm.
as they are still together, you can't expect Harry to return on his own. He has to return with his wife. And I don't think they are prepared to have all of those infights and those little wars of jealousy and all of that come back here.
No, you're right about that because they can't stand not being in the media. They can't stand not being talked about. They can't stand being ignored, and they can't stand, especially Megan, she cannot tolerate Catherine's star. And Catherine is a star. She's just in a stratosphere of her own. She's become the most famous woman in the world. Who'd have thought? And she can't stand it. She can't stand it. And you can almost feel her seething. And it does say that it's, in the Bible, it says jealousy is as cruel as the grave. And when you think about what that's really saying, it's saying it will lead. It's look at Cain and Abel. It will lead somewhere that's, permanent. And that's why I think she's so dangerous because she's driven. She's just, and you saw her when they were at a tennis match. I can't think which one it was. Megan was wearing a striped
Little
blouse.
striped, yes. She was
Oh,
walking
she
behind.
hated it. She hated it. And there was a sweet woman, really a mature aged woman, sitting next to her talking, and she was sitting there seething, furious.
Mm,
Like, who behaves like this? She was ignoring this woman. She was in the middle of this woman who was trying to engage with her. Catherine was looking, she was aghast. There's my favorite word again. She was just horrified at the way Megan was conducting herself. She couldn't hide it. She was so overwhelmed with not being the first. She had to walk behind her, and she had this woman. And who is this other woman? Who is this other woman? Oh, it was so reprehensible the way she conducted herself. But it's all out there, and we look at these time and again, and we put them on our channels, and we say, in case you missed it, ICYM. Like it is still there. It's a matter
yes.
of public record. This People are saying, oh, every time they put Harry in the limelight, they then go on to the story about what a so and so Megan is, but it's her behavior. It's not someone pasting her because she's a strong, wild woman who's clear with her directions. Oh my Lord, give it a rest. There's a woman I know, and I work part time. I would just happily give this job up. I can say this because I know they would not be listening to this, you know, but I'm so loyal to the CEO. I adore her. She's a strong CEO who's built an amazing team and an amazing business. There are a lot of women like myself, and we're straight, white, black, all sorts of, you know, ages who admire strong women and don't mind working for strong women. But she's not strong. She's weak. She's a coward. She's a bully. And she harassed through her online troll network Catherine while she was sick. No
Mm,
one, no one is going to forget that. And
nobody.
Harry to come back with her, he'll never stand a chance. He'll never stand a chance with the public. That's what he's caught between a rock and a hard place. I think it was someone by the name of Lisa B said earlier that
Mm,
she thinks that his attendance at the WellChild Ward alone is we're reading too much into it. But he's been out on his own a lot lately. He's going to Africa by himself.
mm.
I don't know. What are your thoughts about what she said? She thinks we're reading too much into these solo engagements.
Okay, so these solo engagements for Harry is because they've realized that them together it just doesn't work. Them stepping out together just doesn't work. There is a lot of controversies, and both of them competing for that stage. And I'm thinking Harry himself is
Okay.
always not very happy to see that this woman, wherever they go, wants to grab that microphone, and because he's very observant, very very observant. So he would be always looking at these controversies, and they read the media quite a lot. They see all these trending stories. When we do these videos about these controversies and Megan wanting to grab the mic and bolstering through those doors fast and wanting Harry to walk behind her. So we put these stories out there. They look at these stories, they see them. And so I think this is a couple that wants to reduce on those controversies. And they must have had those difficult conversations behind the scenes uh, for one of them to step back and let the other one go forward with these projects, because they need the money, they need to go out there. The more these two were going to be stepping out together, I think the less their hosts were willing to have them show up. Most of the
Okay.
Yeah, the
Mm,
hosts they are inviting Harry. Harry is the prince. So when Harry stands there, they want Harry to
mm.
give the speech. They want Harry to shake those hands first. They want the cameras around Harry. They don't want the bad vibe, the negative vibe that Meghan Markle carries with herself onto these functions to overshadow the goodness of the causes that they set out to go and visit on those days. Okay. So I'm thinking this is their approach to, okay, if we actually want to earn money, or if we want to gain these invitations, I think we need to take a step back, and one of us steps out, especially one who is the head, who is the royal, because Prince Harry is the royal here. And all of these Kevin Costner events, the polo games, whatever they've been going on, are events that Meghan Markle would never have been invited if she wasn't actually married to Prince Harry. Okay? But the fact that they go together and she causes a lot of controversies
Mm.
was now leading to so many of these organizers not inviting both of them. And that is not good for their publicity, because
I see.
they want to
Mm.
build their brand. So it was a difficult decision in my way of looking at it. Um, for them to decide right from now onwards, it's going to be the solo engagements. I will go there, you will stay here, look after the kids. And of course, they had to find reasons for Meghan Markle staying back. and that's where I think we see, oh, she's sick. Okay, so she can't be able to make this function because she's sick. She stayed back with the kids. They have a nanny. They've got Doria is living with them at home. So if they've been going out together and most of these other engagements, why a sudden change to now Harry wanting to go alone and Meghan staying behind? So it has something to do with the negative publicity that Meghan Markle carries with herself out on these engagements that were leading to these invitations not to be coming into them the way they should be. Okay. And you could see that with Harry coming here for the Well Child, it's a different vibe than how it would have been had Meghan come here. Okay, the Sky News, I doubt, would have given them that audience, you know. But also, we could probably have stories come out highlighting the controversies. Oh, did you see Meghan Markle at in the WellChild Awards? You know, she wore this sort of dress. How dare she? How could she show up like that? You know, or did you see how she wanted to grab the mic? And that would have taken away the essence, or the that would have overshadowed this good event, the cause that they would have been there for. So I think it is a good move for Harry. Okay, keep her at home for now. You know, if he really wants to clean up and start connecting meaningfully with his audience out there, and that might actually also lead to a realization of Prince Harry that okay, the public actually connect more with me. Why then? So that means the problem is with my wife. Okay, so this is more of Harry again testing the waters himself, stepping out, and how happy he is, how successful these solo engagements have been would put some sense into him that, you know, all of these public negativities and all of that have the Sussexes carry themselves with is to do with the wife and the path and all of the things that she has put Harry through. Because many people still argue that most of all of those projects of Prince Harry and the mission is being on of writing these books and those interviews and the things he said, most people still believe that these approaches have been masterminded, okay, by the wife. Okay, so this is going to put some sense. This is a period for Prince Harry, a period for him to seriously look back and reflect. And, you know, that is if he's gonna get back into anyone's good books. But as for coming back into proper service with the royal family or any sort of royal activity, that isn't going to come anytime soon. Okay.
Yeah, I think the problem they're going to face as a couple, because he doesn't look happy. He says he's happy, but tell that to your face. Um, because apparently Canada have put the word out, we don't want Megan here. So they are on notice. You're right about that. But the problem she's going to have is once he's got a taste of his freedom, he's going to be hard to get him back in to her clutches. You can escape narcissistic abuse. You can escape a narcissist. People online talk about it. There are forums and etc. etc. But that's not going to be possible for him while he's still quite dependent, and he is an enabler. But I'm also inclined toward the view that, and it's been said here, in a variety of ways in the chat, that the public especially those who are paying attention, which is basically people like us, people in the chat, people who run channels, people who follow them, etc., is they just feel Harry has exposed himself as an absolute bumhole. I'll put it politely. He's exposed himself in the worst possible way as this horrible, petulant, jealous individual. So, to your point, I'm not sure it was just all masterminded. I'm not sure that it wasn't a joint effort. He just wanted to get all of that nonsense off his chest in his book. Oh, my brother had a bigger room. He got an extra sausage. We had a fight and I fell in the dog bowl. And, people just saw it for what it was. I think I actually am inclined to the view. I take on board what you're saying about her being a mastermind. She knew how to execute it. There it is there. She knew how to execute it. I don't think he could have ever done that on his own, but he's a nasty piece of work.
mm, mm,
He's a very nasty piece of work. It shows up when he was a little boy. Um, his mother, Diana, was not a very good disciplinarian. They were raised by the King's, back then, the Prince of Wales security team after Diana died, unfortunately died. And he's nasty. I'm not without empathy for him. I'm not. But I
mm,
also see him. That's why I don't think he's going to be able to pull this off because it's like I said, I go back to what I said earlier when he sees if he's in England and his brother's out raising £6 million, helping raise £6 million for the air ambulance, it's going to get under his skin and he's not going to be able to help himself. And he'll
mm,
have he'll have one of his mates go out there and say something, he'll have his surrogates out there working on his behalf. So
mm,
she they did this together. They did this together. I Some people say he's worse than her, and I'm inclined to look at the way he sat back and watched that mock curtsy of Her Majesty, the late Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, who we all adored. We'll never forget that. Look
mm,
at
mm.
how she said, "Oh, you don't own the word royal." Did he ever step out and say anything against any of this? Did he? No, he didn't. The best he could do was to Tom Bradbury in an interview when he said, "No, no, where did we call them racists? We didn't
It's the
call them
media.
racists."
It's the
Yeah,
media that did
yeah.
so. Turned things
Poor
around.
old
Media.
Tom
Yeah,
Bradbury,
yeah.
his
And it's
face
not.
was hilarious. He said, "No, no, 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 no. It was unconscious bias."
mm,
No, I take on board what you're saying, but I think she executed their filthy little sordid game plan. That's what I think anyway.
mm,
So
mm.
I half agree with you.
And
Um,
he, you said that very rightly. He was obvious in every family. We know that in every family there is always going to be that one child who is going to be rebellious in a way. And so we've seen all these parties in Las Vegas, and you know. So
the
you could
Nazi
argue, yeah,
uniform.
yeah, you could argue that someone came around that tipped the, what do they call it, a tip in the iceberg. So so he was just waiting for that somebody to come and ignite the behavior.
Yeah,
Okay,
she just lit a match.
and
She
she
lit a
just
match, and
and
he willingly
yeah,
burned.
yeah, and
Like
she said,
that Burning Man in America, that Burning Man
yeah.
festival. That's what he was like, just like a big burning. Oh, he's such an awful
But
person.
anyway, we are going to end these conversations here today.
Okie doke.
we've had
It was very good today. It was really, really a lot to talk about.
we've had a fantastic audience as always. Paul, very, very, very knowledgeable audience here. Just makes and we've had some new friends who joined us today. Soto,
Lovely.
yeah, Soto says, yeah, that's true. They are both responsible and have horrible characters. I couldn't agree more with all of these thoughts. Michelle, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
Chantel,
Stedman.
Stedman, Stedman came in. Yeah, she arrived a
Yeah.
little late. She's made
Yeah.
the
Hi,
live. Thank
Stedman.
you. Hi, Stedman. Hi, Joe, because we have a fantastic audience here. Hi, Lily, Ida. Um, these are people that we wouldn't have been where we are
Thanks,
if,
Soto. Thank
if
you.
they were not here with us. So we truly appreciate your awesome support. And Catherine, shout out your channel, please. Uh,
Yes, thank you. Although most of you here follow it anyway, a Royal IOTA, IOTA, and you'll probably see your other um, chat chums over on a Royal IOTA because quite a few of you I recognise and your regulars, and I appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Thank you. Because it does tick over the algorithm, but we're only 30. The last I looked, we were just 30 away from 1,000. So it'll get
mm,
a bit easier. Paul Donovan, he's always, I just really value Paul's input. Uh, uh, that comment about the spare giraffe today, I felt
mm,
was a
yeah.
keeper.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. I usually see Paul around your posts as well.
I do. No, he's
A very
fantastic.
regular
Yeah.
visitor posts. And Kathy, we've got
Let's
Kathy.
let's
Oh,
give it up for Francis. He's such a charming host, and my little royal
oh
guardian
yes.
Frankie. Yeah,
Thank you.
Frankie is stopping by to say hello to you, Francis. Let's give it up
Hello.
for Francis. He's a wonderful host.
Yes, yeah. Oh, he's lovely. We just need to get him a uniform now.
Yes,
So
yes.
he's got his uniform there
Got
sorted. So
his uniform on,
so
yes.
so yeah. So we'll give him, and he's got his bare skin there. So we just need to
Yes,
give him a,
yeah,
what's that, weapon or whatever to hold, like he's a real
yes.
guardsman
Yeah.
standing on a sentry box.
That,
Yeah.
that's Frankie, not
Yes,
Francis, Frankie.
Frankie. Hi, Frankie. So, Catherine,
Thank you,
I know
Francis.
you're Tuesday today, isn't it? It's Tuesday where you are, and
Yes, it's Tuesday.
so it's the
Mm.
Monday night here, going into Tuesday. It's a shame you get there before us, but thank you for honoring these live stream invitations.
Oh, you're
You
wonderful. Thank
difference
you.
here, and the thoughts here, my dear friends. Tell us what you think would be the perfect time to hold these live streams, because at the moment we just go with um, the mode of really and Catherine's availability, but maybe you would prefer a certain time that we could do these live streams again. We put
Yeah,
you.
let us know.
So let us know. So Catherine, thank you so much, and
Thank you, boys and girls. Thank you,
everyone here.
Chantel,
Yes, see you
Stedman,
probably
Paul,
Friday night.
Soto,
Yes.
yeah, Lisa. Thank you,
Lisa,
Lily. Oh, thank you. Bye bye,
Lily,
everyone.
bye bye
See you,
everyone.
sweetie
See you
darlings.
Friday. Is it Friday night again?
Yes,
Friday.
yes,
Yes, into
yes.
the weekend.
Weather at your end permitting.
Yes, hopefully, yes. Okay then, Catherine. And
Bye.
everybody else, bye bye, bye, our dear friends.